Long-term stress weakens the connections in your prefrontal cortex. Regular physical activity increases a brain chemical called BDNF. We stop it before it's too late. Brain isn't fixed. It's changing every single day.
Well, I'm a very, very strong proponent of bringing complicated neuroscience. Genes are nothing more than just recipes for amino acids. Early positive upbringing gives you better stress tolerance. The best antidepressant, the best anti-anxiety agent. What we need is clean sleep. It's called sleep hygiene.
Welcome to Khan Klinics, your dedicated space for exploring the vital connections that shape your well-being. Here we dive into everything from achieving peak physical fitness by mastering sustainable weight management to optimizing your diet for a vibrant life. We're passionate about uncovering the power interplay between your mental and physical health, offering you insightful strategies to nurture both. Join us as we unlock the secrets to embark on your self-confidence and your inspiration by interviewing top-rated personalities, not from only the US, but around the world. At Khan Klinics, our commitment is to bring you evidence-based information that inspires you to confidently control your health journey and live your life to the absolute fullness. I'm your host, Amir Khan. Let's get ready to unlock the true potential of being a human with the most amazing people around us. We all know stress hurts our minds, but have you ever thought about what's it going to do to your brain right now? What if the daily pressure you feel is changing your brain's wiring, is shrinking your memory center, and speeding up how fast your brain ages? Well, that's a concern. Could stress be silently damaging your ability to think and make good decisions? This isn't just about feeling worried or tense. It's about your brain and body being stuck in a survival mode. The important question, can we stop it before it's too late? And science is starting to give us some answers. A recent study found that long-term stress weakens the connections in your prefrontal cortex, the part that helps you focus, remember, and make good decisions. Similarly, in a 5-month study, researchers used brain scans and wearable trackers to see how sleep, stress, and movement affects the brain. They found changes in just 1 week, and those changes lasted for more than 2 weeks, and in some cases for months. A review of recent studies shows that regular physical activity increases a brain chemical called BDNF, which helps grow new brain cells. It also reduces inflammation, protecting your memory loss and catastrophic diseases like dementia. All of these points to one thing: brain isn't fixed. It's changing every single day based on how you live and think. And that's why I'm so excited about today's guest, who has spent over 40 years showing how we can use daily habits, psychology, and apply the brain science to build a stronger, healthier, mindful mind. So how do you rewire your brain for focus, calmness, and long-term health? Let's dive into it. Welcome to another illuminating episode of Khan Klinics. I'm your host, Dr. Amir Khan, and today we're joined by a truly extraordinary guest. He's pioneered in brain based therapy, a master at bridging neuroscience and psychotherapy, and he's the author of several groundbreaking books. Dr. John Arden has a PhD, APP, and is pioneering psychologist with 40 years of mental health. He served as the regional director of training in mental health at Kaiser Permanente in Northern California, where he developed one of the largest mental health training programs in the US. He's the lead author with Dr. Lloyd Linford of two volumes for the practitioner entitled Brain Based Therapy Adults and Brain Based Therapy Children and Adolescents. His first book, Consciousness, Dreams, and Self, was awarded the Outstanding Academic Book Award by Choice, a publication of the American Library Association. Dr. John Arden, welcome to Khan Klinics.
Well, it's a great pleasure to be with you, Dr. Khan. I really very much appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you. And so let's dive right into it. What is exactly brain based therapy? And how is it different from the psychotherapy most people are familiar with?
Well, the term brain based therapy is actually just a way of describing how what we do, what we think, changes the brain. So it's really not a different type of therapy. Rather, what it is an effort to bring everything down to earth and make it more practical. So I'm a very, very strong proponent of bringing complicated neuroscience to an understandable and down to earth level so all of us can benefit by the new science.
Excellent. Let's go into your latest book, Connects Mind, Brain, and Genes. Could you explain or give us a summary how our daily habits can influence gene expression and how is it associated with mental well-being?
I think one of the most exciting new areas of science that affects all of us in the healthcare field is what's referred to as epigenetics. Epigenetics is a way of describing how our genes can be either expressed or suppressed. So, in other words, let's back up a second and just say genes are nothing more than just recipes for amino acids. They don't do anything by themselves. And our behavior changes the way those recipes are read so that we can make these amino acids that later get combined into proteins. So, with that in mind, to answer your question, how does our behavior, how does our experience change the way our brains and our bodies function? So let's talk about one of the most amazing new, I shouldn't say new because it's now about 30 years ago, new research areas that demonstrated that early positive upbringing gives you better stress tolerance. In other words, shock absorbers for later stress. So Michael Meany and a number of his colleagues at McGill University in Canada, kind of like the Harvard of Canada, demonstrated that early positive nurturance resulted in better neurochemistry balance in the children or the offspring of mothers. And let me explain how this happens. So there's this neurohormone called cortisol. It's one of the many different neurohormones that affects our stress level. It's a really important thing that we use on a regular basis to kind of give us more energy, to allow a glucose to be released in cells so we could use it as energy. Well, we don't want too much of it. We don't want none of it. But what we do want is a thermostat for cortisol. And here's how it works. If you have cortisol receptors available When cortisol goes up, it acts like a thermostat, meaning the cortisol level goes down when you get too much of it. So just like your house has a thermostat, when the heat it gets too hot in your house, the air conditioner goes up, or it gets too cold, the heater goes on. So you want those thermostat functions to work in your brain. So you don't even have to think about it. If you get and new cortisol receptors available to you, they automatically adjust your cortisol level. That's epigenetic. That's actually experience helping with gene expression. Phenomenal. And it brings psychology and genetics together in neuroscience.
Wow, that's amazing. So, can we say that if our upbringing was proper, we developed more resilience to cope with pressure? And if that is the case, and we're, say, for example, not resilient, can we adjust or modify ourselves so that we cope better so the next offspring now will have more resilience if we didn't have it? So, for example, can these genes be trained or entrained again? And if so, how would you do that?
Well, let's take one person's life. Can you change your gene expression if your early environment was chaotic and stressful?
Mhm.
That's one of the things that I do in the mental health field is to help my clients, help my students' clients change the way their genes are expressed. And that's why in your intro, which was very, very complimentary, in fact, overly complimentary, I appreciate that. But that what we're trying to do is change lifestyle. So I've been very, very fortunate to travel around the world to the Middle East. I just came back from Ukraine. I'm going back to the Middle East in the fall, and people throughout the world are experiencing horrific stressors. Take Gaza, for example. Absolutely heart-rending, disgusting experience by many, many people that turn on their stress response systems. I mean, just seeing your relative killed in front of you turns on your stress response systems to deal with that. And it's not like you could just turn it off just like that. And then you need to have lifestyle practices that help turn it off. You mentioned earlier the S.E.E.D.S elements. All I did was basically just put the 5 healthy factors, lifestyle factors, into a mnemonic to help people remember. Because let's face it, when you're stressed out, you can't remember much anyway. And you mentioned as well in your very cogent summary of some of the new science that when these stress systems get turned on, we need to have some sort of methodology, a lifestyle system of practices to help modify and turn down our stress systems. So what are those 5 healthy factors? Again, I put them in the mnemonic seeds. So here they are. Social, and in fact, we even talked about social just a minute ago when we were talking about attachment and early nurturance. The first E of S.E.E.D.S is exercise. It is the most powerful, positive lifestyle behavior we can possibly have. It's the best antidepressant, the best anti-anxiety agent. The second E is education. In other words, if you're learning something new, you're building an infrastructure of connectivity in your brain. You mentioned in your intro neuroplasticity. You also mentioned neurogenesis. Neuroplasticity is rewiring your brain. Neurogenesis is building in new neurons. Learning does that. So constantly learning something new, like your listeners, like you're doing. You're interviewing people all over the world. You're providing education for people to learn about their life, learn about their health and everything. That's education. That's making new connections. The D of S.E.E.D.S is diet. The fact of the matter is, in the Western world, especially the United States, our diet is junk. And that junk is literally destroying our brains. we eat so many bad things that results in chronic inflammation and metabolic problems that destroy our brains. So we know that extra fat cells, for example, literally shrink the prefrontal cortex that you mentioned earlier, and an area of the brain called the hippocampus that lays down new memories. So diet, incredibly important. And then finally, the last S of SEEDS is sleep. In the United States and throughout the world, people are taking all sorts of chemical agents to try to stay asleep. Actually, it messes sleep up. What we need is clean sleep. It's called sleep hygiene. So there are a number of behaviors that help a person establish good sleep hygiene. So these 5 healthy factors encoded in the mnemonic SEEDS are what we hope that all these people in Ukraine and Gaza and others, after they get out of the danger zones, can implement to help renormalize and rewire their brains.
Very, very interesting. And it's astonishing how you associated in your mnemonic seeds the exercise, because we think when we do exercise, we think that it's good for our body. We never think, or we seldom think, or we know that it helps your mind. We know it relaxes it, but we never made an association how important it is for your, considering your genes or your genetics. It has an implication on that. What a remarkable journey we've just experienced together. The path to health isn't always straight, but it's always worth the effort. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take the next step in your wellness journey, armed with new knowledge and a fresh perspective. If today's episode left you inspired, share it with people, someone who need to hear this. Give us a thumbs up and your opinion. Keep exploring, keep evolving, and we'll see you in the next episode of Khan Clinics.